Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we'll be going over the next rank point ship that I have required, and that is Project 66, or as I've renamed her, Moskva. This ship is actually not as good as I thought it would be, but that's only because I believe it's been power creeped. Now, what I mean by that is that this is definitely a very, very strong ship, but there has been some other cruisers at this tier and higher that have actually been released after this one that are much stronger in my opinion. And I'll go over my opinion on those afterwards. But let's just go over the rough stats of the ship here. We have 64,500 health, 16% torpedo damage resistance, up to 300 millimeters of armor. It says only 160 on the belt, so about 6 inches or so. And then it looks like the turret faces have the most armor, as usual. No turtleback armor. And your citadel is pretty exposed, I would believe. Oh yeah, you have a huge citadel. Look at how high that thing sticks above the water. So you definitely don't want to go broadside with this thing if you can manage that. So yeah, your armor's not really the greatest. Your maneuverability is garbage too. 10 meters for turning circle radius. That's as bad as H-44. Your guns, you have 220 millimeter guns, which is about 9 inches or so. 6 rounds a minute, 30-second, 180-degree turn time. Your shell velocity is extremely fast. 985 meters per second is very, very fast. And it's the fastest of all the large or super cruisers. So you do have that advantage, but you don't have the fastest shells of all cruisers. You will actually see that the 9.6 tech tree Russian cruiser, the Nevsky that I have, or Project 84, actually has a shell velocity of 1,000 meters per second. It does only have 7-inch guns, but still, it is faster. So your guns are fast, but they're not the fastest. They don't hurt as much as I thought they would, honestly. And your high explosive has a pitiful fire chance, so not much there. Main battery range of 19.2 kilometers, a secondary range of 5.5 kilometers. Got a couple secondaries here, and a couple there, and then the rest is AA mounts. So a secondary is not really that great as well. Speed is 34.4 knots, which is actually really, really good. And with all my speed buffs applied, I do get up to about 40 knots or so, something ridiculous like that. So she is pretty quick on her feet. AA, we have not as good AA as I thought we would, but it's still okay. You will knock down some planes, but you're a large target and you don't turn that well, so if a carrier really wants you sunk, all they have to do is bring out torpedo bombers and you're pretty much a goner. You do have an aircraft, in this case it's a helicopter, right here at the fantail, and you get 3 of them for air defense. Going back to consumables and modules, this is how I have her set up for mine. She gets a repair, a heal, and a def AA, which is all she gets. She doesn't get like a radar or anything like that. So I did expect a lot more out of this ship, but I've actually been kind of disappointed. That doesn't mean I don't like her. She's still a gorgeous ship. I just expected more to come of her. Way back when we saw a hint that there might be a Stalingrad cruiser released for this game. We have not heard anything since then. It was just a slight picture we saw off to the side there. But if that is what they're hoping to be like the super cruiser for Russia, then that makes sense, but that just makes this one like a large heavy cruiser. So I'm not really sure what the point of this ship is, because you could probably have El Nevsky and be a little bit better in terms of damage in AA. Actually, definitely in terms of shell velocity in AA. Your guns are smaller on the El Nevsky, and you don't have as much armor, but you also would be able to turn quicker, so you have that advantage. So you either have it, if you like fast and maneuverable, go with El Nevsky. If you like fast and a little bit tanky, go with Moskva. But honestly, like I said, you just show your broadside and that citadel is going to be taken out immediately. Going back to what I mean by power creep, when this ship came out, I believe there was only a handful of 9.6 matchmaking tier cruisers. There was Ibuki, which is used to be a really good ship, but if you turn broadside, she gets deleted instantly with citadels. Her anti-aircraft defense is pretty much worthless. Her torpedoes are very strong, but they're only rear facing. And her guns are okay. They've been nerfed since then, though, so they're actually just garbage at this point. Des Moines is always going to be a strong ship. High shell arcs, high amount of high explosive damage, fire chance, all that jazz, high AA. Similar thing, you turn broadside, you're going to get citadelled and sunk immediately by pretty much anything. I don't think Worcester was out at that time, but even if we compare to Worcester, we have rapid firing 6-inch guns, low shell velocity and high shell arcs, but you have 12 of them and they reload like every 4 seconds or so. Some of the strongest AA in the game. You are a large ship, but if you angle correctly, you can actually still bounce quite a few shells, and anything that you can't bounce, you just run away from. And you can also equip radar now. French doesn't have any. The Germans didn't have Magdeburg when Project 66 came out, but even here we have large caliber guns. They're like 13s, 13.5, something like that. Really, really good HE spamming. You are a large ship. You do take a lot of pen from 16-inch guns and higher. You have a handful of secondaries and torpedoes, but you get pretty good AA, and you even can equip a def AA, or you can equip sonar or hydroacoustic search, which is also very beneficial. So as long as you don't tangle with battleships up close, you can actually do really well with the ship as well. Italians don't have any, neither do the Chinese. The British, we have Minotaur, which is an absolute AA monster if you get any kind of broadside. She has a ton of torps. Her torpedoes are, well, her AA defense is not as good as you might think it would be, but it's still pretty good. She comes with a smoke screen. Her armor is a joke, but that's, I mean, it's a light cruiser. If you know how to play with her, she can still be very, very deadly. And then, honestly, the strongest one right now is probably going to be Admiral. Especially when compared to Project 66. We have 9-inch guns, just like Project 66, except we have 12 of them instead of 9, so we get 3 more guns. They have extremely good armor piercing and high explosive damages. They're not as fast, but it's still 933 meters per second, which is still pretty snappy. You have secondaries that are actually somewhat useful. You have 4 of them per side, which does actually equal the amount that Project 66 can use. You get torpedoes. You only get 1 set, but Project 66 doesn't get any. You have aircraft. You have 3 planes you launch at one time, and you have 5 of them. And your maneuverability is so much better, 840 meters per second, or meters, I should say. Range is a little bit less, but speed is still pretty up there. So honestly, if it came down to Project 66 or Admiral, Admiral is probably almost always going to win. Even in a bow tanking battle, you have 8 guns versus 6. Yes, Project 66 shells will hit quicker, but at that point, you're not even getting plunging fire, so it'll hit the turret faces and just shatter as well. So, Project 66 was really good when it came out. Here's Alnevsky, remember her, as I was talking about her earlier. It was really good when it first came out, but I think that the ships that have come out since then, it is not as good as she possibly could be. That doesn't mean she's a bad ship, just means that she doesn't really have a specific reason to buy her anymore. There's normal ships you can just get in the tech tree without using rank points that are better. But here we go, we have a rank point ship, so let's toss her into game and see what we can do. Alright, let's see what kind of game we have today. We have quite a few battleships, looks like 6 of them. We have a couple cruisers and a couple destroyers, so no carrier, but that's fine with me. We're already going to have our hands full with battleships. Honestly, this thing does whittle down battleships really quickly if you do get a broadside. You just have to be careful not to get broadsided yourself, because a couple of good, well-placed 20-inch shells or 16-inch shells will sink me relatively quickly. Alright, so let's see. Destroyers, not too worried about. This thing does do really good against destroyers. Your fast shell speed means that you can actually land your shells on destroyers relatively far away. I think I was able to nail some at like 10 or 15 kilometers relatively easily. So you do have that going for you. Also, I do have a bunch of health buffs and speed buffs and crew skills applied. I got a lot of crew skills for this one because I was really excited for the ship, and then I played her, and then I was kind of disappointed. But she does have a lot of crew skills applied right now as well. Okay, so we are going to start with high explosive. Gun angles. Something like that. Let's take a look. You actually might be able to bounce somewhat okay on your midships belt. Larger shells like battleship shells may still go through though, I would say. Alright, so we got the enemy Moskva over here. So we're gonna start shooting. Look, those shells are really, really fast. You do only have 9 of them, remember, but they are pretty fast. I already did get a couple shatters. Yeah, but see, if this was Admiral, I'd already have like 3 fires and a ton of damage already. So it really is questionable on how well this ship does perform. I am going almost 41 knots as well. Alright, so versus Destroyer, you can actually, well, assuming the Destroyer doesn't move, hit your shells relatively easily as well. Those are all going to hit the island. Fast shell velocity means pretty shallow shell arcs, which means you can't really shoot over islands that well. Okay, so we're going to actually load armor piercing now, and we're going to try and citadel this Moskva over here. So yeah, flat shell arcs are not good for short range combat. Alright, so we got some armor piercing headed out. Let's see if we can citadel her. Yep, citadel right there. Can we get a quick shot into Sushi over here? Switch back to high explosive for this Tashkent, though she's pretty much already going to be gone. Boom. 6k on that Sushi. There goes Tashkent. Alright, let's work over Sushi a little bit here. $13,500 damage. So yeah, like I said, she can farm battleships with her armor piercing really, really well. But that is honestly her main job, because anything else is kind of questionable at this point. Giant turning circle is not helping me right now. I even have a couple rudder modifications added to her, so my turning circle radius is actually lower than 1010. I'm still having some difficulty. Ooh, Sushi sees me, that's an issue. So we're going to have to wait till she fires, and then we're going to have to turn around. Because if I go broadside right now, there's a good chance I'll just be destroyed. Almost 12k damage though on that one salvo. I'm not sure what she's waiting for, but I guess we're just going to keep just taking chunks off of her. Alright. Let's keep going. She's still not shooting at me. Oh, there she goes. Alright, and now we're starting to hit the island. I'm not really wanting to stay long around here because of all the battleships, so let's try and cap the base and move out. Put my helicopter up just to spot that other Tsushima to know where she is. Now that I know where she is, we can leave. I'm going to put some salvos towards this line here. 11.6k. She's probably going to shoot at us, so we're going to try and angle away a little bit here. 11.9. Yeah, there she goes. So we capped the base, though. Alright, but yeah, you can see how this thing just slaps battleships really, really easily. But you also have to remember that this is not the only cruiser that can do this. You have ships like Alaska or Guam. You even have Admiral or Des Moines that can do this relatively easily. So, you just keep that in mind as well. Ooh, Freddy got some shells into me. Yep, there's a citadel. Oh, she did get over the island there. Oh, she missed. There's a monarch over here. We're actually going to switch back to high explosive because the best way to deal with these ships is to burn them. Oh, my helicopter got shot down as well. And that angle I would bounce anyways. So let's just try and burn her. 7k in a fire. Not terrible. Not the best either. Another fire. My secondaries are opening up for the little bit that they'll actually help with. Still getting penned through the stern here. Six shatters. Yeah, so you can see how your guns are kind of lackluster. Okay, that was a little bit better. 8k with 7 pens. And she's gone. Right now to switch targets. At range, you can hit ships pretty easily with your fast shell velocity, so she may just be a long-range sniper, but honestly, just a close-in or medium-range armor-piercing damage dealer, she works really well in that regard as well. But high-explosive long-range spamming is definitely one of her strong points here. Right, let's put a helicopter in, see if we can spot any of these other ships. Let's pop another heal. Oh, we got another fire. Nice. Still being shot at. Don't appreciate that. Getting a little bit of damage here and there. Nothing major. Honestly, at this point, the fires are going to be doing the damage for me. But if I can't set them, then it's just a few pens here and there. Alright, so there we go, we got another fire. Let's see if we can light one on Sushi over here. I don't really want to play this ship as a long-range high-explosive spammer because that's not really what I want her to be. But she may have to. She doesn't really have the armor to go face-to-face with battleships very easily. Alright, so there's one fire on Sushi. Who's she engaging the line? Okay. Stop going away. Ooh, 2 fires. Additional fires on Sushi, so that's 3 of them. See if we can get one on the bow here. I don't think that was enough lead. Nope, let's do a little bit more lead. I could switch to armor piercing at this point, but I'm just trying to light her on fire. I'm actually shattering still. That's the funny part. Alright, there we go. 4 fires, and she's sunk. And now we get to work down these ships. So we're actually going to try and light a little bit of fire on all of them. And then just deal with that. See how she does as an HE spammer, since we already know that the armor piercing works. So there's one fire. Switch target. There's 2 fires. I do have health or buffs to my fire chance, so this isn't the normal HE chance, but the buff doesn't do that much to it, so this is relatively close to what you would normally get. No fire on that salvo, but let's try again. There's another fire. Sushi's is probably going to go out here pretty soon. Also, that Sushi on our team is going to go down really quickly, so we're going to be the target here. So let's just start turning away. Looks like we damaged one of the main guns. There's a fire for Sushi. Lion does have 2 fires, but they just went out. So let's try and relight them, and we probably could finish off Lion here. I'm actually going to slow down to a quarter speed because that sushi is going to give us a nice broadside. Well, we're actually going to have to turn around. Because we got the island in the way. We did get another fire on Threaded Gross though. Right, turret rotation is not terrible. I don't remember if I have her set up for accuracy or rotation on reload. Well, I'll have to check. But, let's see here. Let's see if we can get another fire on sushi. And yeah, if you're not going to be a close-in armor-piercing dealer, damage dealer, then a long-range, high-explosive spammer is still going to work. You can land your shells relatively easily, but I don't think that's how I want to play her nonetheless. Yeah, there we go. You know what, let's charge in. I don't think she's going to last that much longer, but if we can get some good armor-piercing salvos on this Freddy here, that'll definitely help. So there's another fire. Yeah, she's not even going to survive long enough for us to get there. Let's just use our last heal because why not? I keep shooting over the ship, believe it or not. I'm not giving enough lead. Alright, let's try that then. And there we go. Alright, cool. So, yeah, we got in close, we used armor piercing, we stayed at range, we used high explosive. Either way, you can use this ship, but your damages are not really as much as I would think you'd get, so that's why I'm still hesitant to say get the ship. But we did crack 430,000 damage, 5 ships were sunk, 383 shell hits, 1 aircraft was shot down, 1 citadel, 19 fires, 1 module destroyed, 1 capped base, 5 defended caps, and 18 secondary hits. Of that, 115,000 damage was in high explosive out of 240 hits. Out of 143 armor-piercing hits, we did 151,000 damage. Fires did 163,000 damage, and secondary battery did absolutely nothing. So, yeah, you can work over battleships relatively easily while either going really close to them and just armor-piercing them and taking giant chunks out of them, or staying at range and burning them. Both do work. Actually got more fire damage than armor piercing damage. But then again, with only a 16.4% chance of fire, a 6.8, yeah, I mean, you can compare that to something with Admiral, which has more guns of a larger caliber, and they have a 20.8% chance fire. So, yeah, honestly, Project 66 is not a terrible ship. I'm not saying that she is. However, I do think that there are better ships in the game currently that you can get without the use of rank points. And you can use your rank points to get something that's probably OP in the game, which is FDR, which is, I was deciding whether or not to get FDR or Project 66. And I probably should have gone with FDR. Even though I'm not a carrier person, the amount of damage this ship can deal out is ridiculous. Alright, so this, as of right now, FDR will be the next rank point ship I get. I do not have Timmerman, nor do I have Charlemagne, but honestly, those two are kind of already in the game. So we're going to try and do our best to get FDR. But for right now, final review. Moskva, good ship, strong ship, not the strongest, not the best ship. So if you want to dish out, what was it, 30 rank points for this ship, go for it. But I think she could be a little bit stronger, or at least have something special in terms of her not just be the ship itself. So thank you for watching, and tomorrow we're actually going to go over, or actually do another video on Grozovoy. Ship is still the same, but I want to show you how her camo looks like in a normal battle. So we're going to be using Udaloy and take her out for a spin. So again, thank you and take care.